So this is my flight hangar, so to say. I started flying RC planes, about 5 months or something so back. And I started off, or was inspired by the FliteTest.com guys and their foam board airplanes. And as you can see, I started off with the FT Flyer, which this incidentally still is the original FT Flyer. And I started off flying without ever using a sim or anything like that. I just didn't want to spend the $200 or so, or whatever it would have cost to do it. I then went to the FT Delta, and this, by the way, is my second version of the FT Delta. I've actually wrapped it in carbon fiber vinyl wrap and chrome wrap, which made it a bit heavier, but I learned to fly the bank and yank with that. And then I built the FT Baby Blender and the FT Versa wing. In between all that, I built RCPowers F-35 version 2 plane, and it was so delightful to fly that I ended up building a second one, and this time I spent a little more time on doing it correctly. I still have to maiden this one yet. So as a little review of all these different planes, I must say that the FT Flyer, with hands down, is really easy to fly. It's very durable, was a fun to fly. The FT Delta, I must say, is a really twitchy airplane. It's not easy to fly, and it took me many crashes, about 5 power pods and some modifications in order to finally keep this thing in the air. Just because I think it has to do with the torque of the motor. It really likes rolling to the left, so you constantly have to have your fingers on the controls in order to be able to balance for that. And of course, as a beginner, one of the things is that constantly happens to you is you have tip stalls, and then you nosedive, and the nosedive causes your power pod to crunch up and the nose to crunch up. So in the end, I adjusted this with some Lowe's foam, which I can just simply take out when the barbecue skewers just become too weak of a hold in there, and I continue flying. I reinforced the top a little bit with these popsicle sticks, and the power pod itself I also reinforced, first of all, the inside here with a gift card, because it has a tendency for the top part to break off, and you have to put a new one in. By doing this, you avoid that, and the harmonicking of the power pod, I've kind of helped stop by putting this in here. So this way, even if it does bend a little bit, all you have to do is just bend it back into place and you're good to go again, rather than having to build a new power pod, spend another who knows how many dollars on the fiberglass tape. A lot of fun to fly, but it took me many crashes until I finally was able to keep this thing in the air successfully. Then I went to the Versa wing, and I must say that, you know, I was really looking forward to fly this thing, because by that time I did get a simulator, and on the simulator it really seemed very easy to fly a wing, but I somehow got the center of gravity wrong on this thing, and it kept nosediving, and you know, the prop hit the ground with, you know, still running, and it tore off the motor mount, which I had to put back on again. By now the nose is, you know, pretty squishy here, so I still have to yet do some foam board surgery on it and go and try it again. The Baby Blender was a lot of fun to build. I really enjoy the whole building process in and of itself, and it turned out to be a really pretty plane, I think. But you know, I tried flying it, and I started off by putting it on the runway and trying to do a takeoff, and then when I put the thrust all the way forward, it would immediately do a 90-degree left turn. And I have the big beef motor set up from Laser Toys in it, and I couldn't get it off the ground. So then I decided, okay, I'm just going to hand launch it, and pretty much the same thing happened. I wasn't able to counteract that, and of course, what happened, the struts here broke, so this is the second set of struts, and I yet have to fly this thing. So again, tricky, not that easy airplane to fly. The airplane that was the easiest to fly, seriously, was RCPowers F-35. When I built the first one, and I built this entire thing out of foam board, so I didn't use Depron. When I built the first version and I wing launched it, I was so amazed that it just tracked straight, went right in the air. I didn't have any problems with launching it or anything of the sort. Flew wonderfully. It was a lot of fun to fly. And obviously at some point, yes, I did crash it, crumple it up, and then went ahead and built this one. And what I've done is that, first of all, one of the tips or things that I learned is when you put this thing together and you have all the different parts, don't glue the different parts together as units and then put them on. The best thing is really to fit everything together on the tabs and then gradually go gluing the things together in order to get the shape that you need. Another thing that I did is I used Blue Core foam board, or that Blue Core insulation foam from Lowe's, in order to make the KF steps. That really worked out the last time very, very well. I also, what I did is, if you look at my vertical stabilizers as well as the elevators, okay, those are actually made out of two pieces of foam board, so they're doubled up, and what I did is on the side that they're glued together, I pulled the paper off and then glued them together, which makes them nice and rigid, because in the first version, one of the things that happened to me was that, you know, when you turn it and lay it upside down or so, eventually your elevators just start bending and just falling apart, in other words. I did the same thing with the elevators here, and we'll have to see how this flies. So another thing that I did is this is my setup on the inside. So I have a 2400 Sunny Sky, 2400 kV Sunny Sky motor and a 40 to 50 amp Hobby King ESC. I got the battery low voltage indicator, the beeper right here, and I've got the battery right in here. It's a 2200 milliamp battery. Now, another thing that I noticed was that my throws were very, very low on the first one, and I still can't quite figure out exactly why, and it might just happen to do with the with this being foam board and shaving off a couple of millimeters here and there, and the servo's not giving you the throws that you usually see. So I ended up having to put, you know, longer servo arms in order to get, you know, decent throws on the ailerons as well as the elevons. Right now, I've got an elevon setup, as you can see. So I didn't put a second servo in, you know, separate servos for elevator and ailerons. I basically put them together on one. That worked very well the last time around for me, so I hope it works this time around too. I use these little clevises, which are really helpful in fastening the push rods. These push rods here are the thinner ones for the elevators. For the rudders, I actually had to put thicker 1mm push rods in, just simply because of the pressure required in order to turn that thing over. So effectively, what I did when building this one, I used all the techniques that I learned from the FliteTest site and their foam building in order to apply to this RCPowers one. Out of all the planes that I've flown so far, the one that was the easiest to fly, hands down, is the RCPowers F-35. Lots of fun. Takes about, you know, cutting the foam board takes about 2 hours or so, and building the plane all together, by the time you've got it set up and dialed in, I would say it's another 8 hours. It usually takes me about 4 or 5 days, you know, and every day doing something on it in order to get it going. Altogether, I really am challenged by the baby blender. I hope I can get it into the air, and we'll see how my RCPowers, my second one, fares once I made it. I hope I can find somebody who can help me film it. But that's effectively kind of the evaluation or my learning experience as a complete newbie into the field of RC airplanes. The guys at FliteTest.com are phenomenal. I really like LaserToys.com, who, you know, put these little packages together. Makes it very easy to order a lot of the things rather than having to wait 3 weeks out of China. So that certainly is quite of an inspiration. I eventually do want to get the wing in the air. I do want to try FPV at some point, but I still have to learn how to fly. In the meantime, I'm going to fly my F-35, which, like I said, is a lot of fun to fly. It turns quite a few heads. And I hope to get the baby blender in the air. More to come. So thanks for listening to this review. I hope it was helpful. Feel free to post any questions, and I'll post more videos down the road.